Hello and welcome to another episode of the Portrait Profit Show. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight on this wonderful Monday, the first day after daylight savings. So it's totally dark outside. It feels like it's a lot later than it normally is, at least to me. I wonder if it is to you. But today we're going to be talking about how I deal with self-doubt. And this is a panel on the second Monday of every single month. We change the time from noon to 6:30 in the evening, and we bring in panelists to get their opinions. And today we have three photographers who are going to be sharing their opinions on self-doubt. But before we get into that, I want to bring in Amanda from Digital Pro Lab to share what she's got going on.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Good.
Good. Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I'm really excited for you to meet our three panelists, several of which are Digital Pro Lab customers. So we're excited for them to share their stories with you about some of the ways that they're overcoming their own self-doubt in their business. So as always, Digital Pro Lab, along with Landers Photography School, sponsors Portrait Profits. And this is one of our favorite types of sessions that we bring to y'all because we actually get to hear everyday photographers that are, working through building their business and hear their feedback on some of the topics that we've talked about before that Jim has shared with us. So I'm eager to hear everybody and what they have to say. As far as what's going on with Digital Pro Lab, those of y'all that don't already know me, I'm Amanda. I am one of the owners of Digital Pro Lab here in San Antonio, Texas. And we are the largest professional photo lab in San Antonio that caters to everybody throughout Texas, throughout the nation, and of course, specifically here in San Antonio. So if anybody has any printing needs, you know where to find us. Go to digitalprolab.com and follow us there as well as on social media. Stay tuned for the end because we always share a promo code for something special. So stay tuned for the end so that we can give you that promo code and you can continue to print because we always encourage printing of your photography. So not only are you learning how to build your business, but Jim has keenly been teaching on helping photographers build their business through printing and creating full service photography businesses. So Digital Pro Lab is always helping to cultivate and encourage that as well. So join me for the end for that promo code. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Amanda. Always good to hear what's going on with Digital Pro Lab because Digital Pro Lab is always doing something that's benefiting us as photographers. And man, we are so grateful to have you and your team doing everything that you're doing. The part you're doing at the lab is fantastic, but you're doing so much more than that. It's like you want to help us become better at what we're doing, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you to your staff at Digital Pro Lab. You guys rock. Yeah. All right. All right. So let's get this episode of the Portrait Profit Show going. I'm so excited to be here and talk to these three. We got a chance to visit beforehand and several days before. And man, these guys are going to be so good. I want to encourage you guys to like and love all the comments that you're hearing. I want you to comment. I want you to ask questions. We may be able to ask some of your questions. We've got a whole bunch of questions and probably have too many to ask them, but I still want you to, I'm still encouraging you to, and definitely make comments and share. You probably know someone else who could benefit from the Portrait Show. The Portrait Profit Show, and I want you to tell them about it. Hit that share button. Let other people know. Don't keep this to yourself. When we uplift others, we uplift ourselves. When we don't help others, we're not helping ourselves out. Uplift others. Share it. Let other people know. Thank you guys again for being here at the Portrait Profit Show. I am Jim Landers, and my mission, it's simple. I help portrait photographers just like you make a great income doing what they love. Each week, you get tips and systems on the business side of photography designed to help you get a mastery over marketing and sales, reducing the struggles that most photographers are going to face so you can finally get what you deserve. You're in the right place. Welcome to the Portrait Profit Show. So we are talking today about how I deal with self-doubt. It is something that all of us deal with. We're creatives. We care. We are fantastic, wonderful, caring people. But we sometimes can be pretty tough on ourselves, sometimes even sabotaging our own potential. But at the very least, we are making things more difficult than they have to be. Maybe it comes from fear. Maybe we're just overanalyzing what it is that we do. Maybe we have feelings that we're not good enough. But self doubt pops up like after you've had a great idea. It pops up after you've been inspired to grow. There it is again. And then maybe you're just in a group and you have this question in your mind and it's not time to ask it just yet. And you talk yourself out of even asking it. Man, self doubt. In other words, this freaking self doubt sometimes pops up, or it seems like it always pops up at the worst possible times. I know someone who often complained about, well, she said she was fat. This is an unusual thing. 10 years later, this exact same person looking at photographs of herself says, I wish I looked like that. I don't know why I thought I was fat then. You know, sometimes the biggest jerk in your life is you, not others. In this episode of the Portrait Profit Show, we will hear the opinions of 3 portrait photographers on how they deal with self-doubt. Our 3 panelists, in no particular order, and let me bring them up one at a time. I'm going to bring up Savannah first. This is Savannah Saunders. And Savannah is, she's been active in photography for years. I believe that most other photographers have heard her name or have seen her work, and like myself, really appreciate her edgy style. Savannah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been doing photography since high school, but probably within the recent years, I've really tried to take more control of the business aspects of it. I wish I would have listened to your advice and other posts I've seen a lot sooner, because I would be a lot further than what I am now.
I can understand.
Yeah.
But and you said since high school.
Yeah. Since 2005.
Sorry to ask, but I know you've been doing this a long time and you look young. And so it may not do it justice to just say since high school. So you've been doing this for over a decade and a half.
Yeah.
Oh,
Too long.
Fantastic.
Too long.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Savannah. We look forward to hearing how you deal with self-doubt.
Thank you.
All right. Now I'm going to bring in, let's see, who do I have next on my list? I have Amber Rodriguez next on my list. Let me bring her in. Give me just a moment. There we go. Hey, Amber.
Hi, Jim. I didn't realize I was so close to the camera.
Amber is a baby and maternity photographer who I have personally seen push through some pretty tough situations, and she has absolutely come out stronger. She's never lost that smile, never lost her interest. I really enjoy being around her. Amber, tell us about yourself.
I've been doing photography since 2012, when my first son was born, and it just inspired me to document his life. I don't have a lot of pictures of me growing up. I don't have senior pictures of myself. And so I knew when I became a mother, I was going to document everything. And I got my first camera. It was a Canon T Rebel. And I just made the most of it. You know, we didn't have a lot of money. And so that's what I had to work with. And I had no idea what I was doing. I just had inspiration from other photographers. One in particular that made me really get out there and try it. She was so sweet and helpful, and she would give me advice. And so I started from there, and I actually met with you in 2012 trying to go to your school, and I just couldn't afford it at the time. And my husband said, stick with it, then maybe later on you can go. And sure enough, here I am, taking your classes. And I think that's when COVID hit is when my business took off. Unfortunately, but and then started taking your classes, and that's what really it's nonstop. I don't have a day off. So thank
That's
you.
awesome. Well, Amber, and just so you guys know, Amber is one of our career photographers. We have a program that's for a very small number of people, and the reason it's very small is because I am very active in it, and I only have the same amount of time you guys have. And so she's part of our program called Career Photography, and it's 300 classroom hours, and she's completed almost 200 of them so far. Mm-hmm. So she is just shy of almost 2/3 of the way complete with this program. And I've seen she was great to begin with. I have absolutely seen her do so much better. Now, sure, it helps that she's got someone helping her out, but this is internal. She has to have her own drive. Same thing with Savannah, same thing with Jeff, who we'll introduce in just a moment. We have to have our own personal drive in order to make this happen, and Amber absolutely has that. Thank you for being here, Amber. I look forward to hearing your answers to the questions on self-doubt today.
Thank you.
All right. So last but not least, I'm going to bring up Jeff Tisdale. And
hello.
Jeff, just like many photographers, he has loved photography for years, but until recently, it wasn't his main source of income. So welcome today, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. I feel like I'm so new to this game. I've listened to all these guys have been here since, 10 plus years. And here I am, really 4 years into this game. And it's been a fun. So I spent 30 years in the pizza industry. I was a vice president of development. And, I got in this game as a volunteer one day, and 5 years later, here I am. So it's been a great journey, and something I just really love and severely passionate about this photography business. It's been super exciting, and been it's an amazing ups and downs over the last 5 years. And can I do this? Should I do this? And this is the right thing. Should I go back to work? And it's been an awesome journey. So super excited to be here, and thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, so glad that you're here, Jeff. I'm going to start with you at the first question.
Okay, great.
How did you know that you wanted to be a photographer?
Man, I didn't want to be a photographer. That's at first, I had no. So, but that's an easy question. So, I got this first smile from a mom that said, "This is amazing. You captured my daughter. The most amazing look." And that's exactly how I'm going to remember her forever. And that was her. And then I got another mom that said the same thing, and another mom. And then I said, man, maybe I can do this. And so I started, and I just fell in love with it. And that's how I found out I wanted to be a photographer, just for the love of smiles from parents.
That's a great answer. I love it. Thank you for that, Jeff.
Sure.
All right. So then that same question is going to Savannah.
Well,
Savannah, how did you know?
Well, actually, that feeling you're like, oh, I post a really good selfie of myself and you can't wait to see all the likes it gets. Well, that's how I felt when I took photos of other people and showed them how beautiful I see them, and, really gave the confidence back to them, because I've been there. I know a lot of people have been there where they don't feel their best daily. And just to have somebody show you how beautiful you are, it really just empowered me to keep with it. And it's really just the most amazing feeling every shoot I leave. It just gets better and better.
Love it. Yeah, totally agree with that. Thank you for that. That answer, Savannah. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
And now let's go over to Amber. Amber, how did you know that you wanted to be a photographer?
Same thing as he said. I didn't know. I actually wanted to be a nurse. And after having children, nursing was just not it for me. And so I was a bartender off and on, and I did photography on the side. And I just loved it. I loved making people feel good. And I like when people appreciate my work. and it just makes you feel really good. And when my son was born, like I was saying earlier, I wanted to document everything. So in my living room, I would set up like a JC Penney's style shoot it. And it was awful, like horrible. And I thought it was so amazing, but because it was my baby, you know? And I just went from there and I wanted to learn more about it and started shooting some friends and their babies. And that's how I knew like it was my calling. Like I enjoyed it. It was like therapeutic for me. No stress, no worries. It was just a great feeling overall every time I was shooting another family or a baby. So that's how I knew.
Yeah. So each one of us, each one of you guys it's about how it makes you feel. So that's wonderful. So I'm going to start the next question with you, Ember. Were you concerned or fearful before you began that you would not be successful? And if so, how did you overcome those fears?
Definitely. Super scared of people seeing my work. But when you're new, you really don't think about other people's opinions. You just think you're so good and I'm gonna start a photography business. And the fear comes later on. In my opinion. But in the beginning, I had no idea how to run a business. I was just, collecting money for a shoe and doing for friends and family. And it wasn't till last year that I got into the business side. And when I started Landers Photography School, I was just overwhelmed. I was like, this is so much. I didn't realize all this went into photography. I had no idea what I was doing. And I felt like I started from square one. And so I was scared that I was going to be able to continue or not. Like, how are you a business owner? How do you run your own business? I knew nothing about taxes or anything. So just taking the classes really helped me.
A lot of variables in a photography business. That's the truth. Well, thank you for that, Amber. So the same question is, let's see, going to, let's have Savannah answer that same question. Were you concerned or fearful before you began that you wouldn't be successful? And if so, how did you overcome those fears?
I don't think I started to really be successful. I did it more because it was something that just always stayed with me through all my ups and downs throughout my life. It was always my passion. So for it to, become successful on its own, it really just was amazing. And then you had to learn the business aspect. And if you don't know the business aspect, it really just, you know, that's like a whole nother thing on its own. So you could be the most amazing photographer, but if you don't know the business side, it really doesn't go anywhere. So I guess that really was the most scariest part about the whole journey.
Ugh, that's so true. Yeah. So there's so many different variables, so many things to learn. You're so right. Yeah. Thank you for that, Savannah. I appreciate it. All right. So that same question is going to Jeff. Were you concerned or fearful when you began?
Are you kidding? I gotta tell you, I felt like I was this older guy. I mean, I just turned 50. So I was 44 at the time I got into this. And I got this, man, I'm trying to break into a club that doesn't want me. And they're looking at me like, who's this guy? He doesn't know anything. So what I said, you know what? I'm going to work extremely hard. I can run a business. I got that. But I didn't know anything about photography. So I said, I'm just going to learn. And I just buckled down and I met wonderful people like Amanda at Digital Pro Lab, who's really helped me out through the years. I met as many other photographers as I could. I flew around the country to say, you know this, come show me. I met as many people as I could, and anybody would open a door for me. I said, teach me. And that's how I got in. So I buckled down and I learned.
Whew, yeah. And a lot of people feel that way. That's not unusual at all. Yeah. Thank you definitely for sharing that. It's a good
Sure.
point of view. Thank you, Jeff. So let me ask you the next question.
Okay.
Was there ever an occasion in your career that you wanted to give up?
Yeah.
And how did you overcome it?
So 3 years ago, I guess it was 4 years ago, I bought out another photographer company. The guy had been in business for 17 years, and I bought him out, bought all his staffs, equipment, people. A year later, I bought his accounts as well. A year later, I lost the largest account. It was a huge account, and here I am with the staff, photographers, and I had no idea how I was going to keep going, how I was going to replace this massive amount of income for all these people. And so I almost, at that moment, I was ready to throw in the towel and just say, you know what, I gave it a good run. It didn't work out. So I was ready to give up. And then I just said, you know what, this is what I want to do. So I sat down, I locked myself in my office, and I sat down and said, how am I going to fix this? So a great friend of mine, a photographer, been in the business for 20 years, just says to me all the times, create a problem, sit down and find the solution. So the problem was, how do we replace all this? And how do I keep all this staff working? And through that, I found a solution.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. That could not have made you feel good at first, but you pushed through. You're making it happen. So yeah, thank you definitely for that answer, Jeff.
Sure.
Appreciate it. All right. So let's go to Amber to answer that same question. Amber, was there ever an occasion that you wanted to give up, and how did you overcome it?
Yes, definitely. And actually, I kind of did. I put down my camera for about a year. I had a client that was happy with her pictures, really nice lady, but was questioning my pricing. And the senior announcements took a little longer to get here from the post office. Something had happened with the post office. And I guess she didn't believe me. And I just kept updating her and apologizing. Long story short, she just wasn't happy. And I'm a people pleaser. And if you don't like me, I want to know why. And I want to make sure that you do like me for some reason. And I told her, at this point, there's no making you happy. And no matter what I do, I can give you 10 free photos and you're not going to be happy. Well, I put down my camera and I continued with my bartending job. And then my next son came along, my youngest son, and I picked it back up and took his pictures and fell in love all over again. And I was like, this is why I'm doing this, to document my kids. And I can't just set down my camera. And so I fell in love all over again and started doing more friends and family. And I just knew it was my passion. And funny story is, this year, because that was like 6-7 years ago when that happened. But this lady calls me and says, hey, and I said, who is this? And she told me who it was, and I couldn't believe it. I almost dropped the phone, and she apologized to me. And I explained to her, I put down my camera because I was so upset. And she started crying and said, I am so sorry I didn't make you feel that way. And I had no idea. And so we kind of rekindled our relationship, and she wants to be a client of mine again. And she said she was proud of me for how far I've come. And it just meant so much to me to hear that. And so it was closure, and I knew I was on the right path, and I just haven't given up since. So I continue.
Wow. Yeah, that is a story. And thank you for sharing that story with us. I don't know that others of us have had a similar one, but are the same, but maybe similar. And it may have taken a little while, but you did push past it. You have rekindled that relationship. That's fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Amber. All right. And let's ask that same question of Savannah. Savannah, was there ever an occasion in your career where you wanted to give up?
Man, all the time. So it seems like no one believes in you when you're a photographer, because there's a lot of photographers. So I don't know how many times, people I looked up to, family members and significant others who would just be like, okay, are you going to do anything else with your life? And it's hard to really believe in yourself when you do see other people and you're comparing yourself to other people constantly, and you got to get out of that headspace. You got to see what your value is and really just do it for you. And even when everybody doubts you, just keep pushing. So
yeah, that's true. Mindset plays a huge role. Your supporters, those who love you aren't necessarily the best people to support you with your photography dreams.
No,
they're great people. You love them, but maybe you don't share everything with them along those lines.
Oh yeah, no. A lot of people in my life are not the artistic ones. No, they're just like you. They don't see it. They don't see it as a job. I have to convince them I'm tired, but
yeah. Well, this next question, I'm starting with you. Once you began, were there some things that came up that you hadn't anticipated that added to your anxiety, added to your self-doubt?
Actually, yeah. So I have really bad social anxiety, and I wanted to change. In order to grow my business, I needed to change from digitals to sell IPS products, and I was like, I just cannot talk to these people. I cannot sell myself. I was to the point where I was looking to hire somebody to just sell me because I just don't have enough confidence half the time on myself. So yeah, it really has taken a turn though to where I'm getting there, and I'm getting to see what I'm worth. And that really makes a difference, is seeing your self-worth. And now I enjoy it because I'm not burning myself out for like $150 for 50 digitals or something like that. I'm actually making a living on something I love.
Yeah. You've gone through some changes that I think everybody at least considers, and maybe they don't make the change, but at least they consider. I mean, you mentioned going from giving out the digitals to IPS, that's in-person sales. For those of you who don't know, I assume that most of us know what IPS means, but in-person sales, it's the way it used to be.
I don't even do it. And I don't even do it in person. I do it over Zoom because, the whole pandemic. But I've really made it work for me. And honestly, when I started that, I didn't even think I was capable of that, to sell myself and sell the photos, and I really wasn't. I was terrified. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think all of us are. I mean, because we care. We want to do a good job. We want to be perceived the way that with the effort that we're giving. We want them to be thrilled with what we create for them, and so we have that anxiety towards how they're going to react to this. Am I good enough? So thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate it. Definitely. So that same question. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, once you began, were there some things that came up that you hadn't anticipated that caused anxiety or caused some self-doubt? I think you may be
muted there. I think I muted myself there. Sorry.
There we go.
All right. So when I started off, I bought my first set of equipment, and then the larger I got, the more equipment I kept having to buy. And here I am. I'm 2 years in. I'm umpteen thousands of dollars in the hole, and my wife's over looking at me saying, "You're going to buy what?" And so that anxiety of all of a sudden just call it easy. I'm $100,000 in the hole in equipment, right? And you're saying, okay, I'm $100,000 in the hole, and it's getting deeper. How am I going to get out of this? And how I dealt with it was, like I said, my photography friend was, create the problem and then find the solution. So what I found out is I couldn't keep buying more and more and more and more equipment, right? It was not going to end up, I was just going to get deeper in the hole. So what I did is I met as many photographers as I could in the city of San Antonio and surrounding. And I created a network of sharing. So I found guys that needed stuff. I had it. They had stuff I needed. And we started sharing some equipment until I was in the green where I could start buying additional equipment. So it was, that was serious anxiety when my wife starts looking at me going, "You're going to buy what?" And so, yeah,
smart solution.
That's how I solved the problem. So, but that was
like
really, it was really, how far down this rabbit hole am I going to go before I can start turning a profit? So that's how I solved it.
That is a great way to solve it. Some people have differing results when they try to reach out to other photographers, but it is a good solution. And if you don't have the result you want, well, then visit with another photographer. You obviously found the ones that you could work well with, and maybe you still work with some of them. Maybe that's a continuing thing. So awesome solution. I call it small groups. That's one of the things I teach. I call it small groups.
Agree, and it has been phenomenal. I've shared work with a lot of these photographers now. They take care of my overflow. I've hired them on his contract basis, and it really has become a solid network of many photographers that share and share alike. So I have guys over here weekly coming over and picking up cameras, lenses, and just because I want them to have an opportunity to start off and be successful as well. So,
yeah, fantastic. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, Joe.
Sure.
All right, so that same question is going to Amber. Amber, once you began, were there some things that came up that you didn't anticipate that caused some anxiety, some self-doubt?
Yes. Well, I already have anxiety to begin with. High anxiety, and photography, like I said, was very therapeutic for me, but of course things happen. I was renting a studio and our schedules kind of clashed, and I was renting for 20 hours, and she had said, you're getting too busy, which is a good thing, but it wasn't working out for her. So she said, she had to let me go from the studio. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So my husband, genius, said, just transfer the living room into a studio. I was like, no, that's not going to work. And sure enough, we transformed the whole living room. We didn't use it anyways, and made it a studio. Been using that ever since, and it's been great. And then another thing was I was working a full-time job at the dental office, and I was having shoots every weekend. So I had no time for my kids or my family. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm working 2 jobs. I'm burnt out. I'm tired. I mean, I'm glad I'm busy, but how am I going to get my passion, So I decided to just quit my full-time job. I took the leap of faith and trusted it, and I haven't looked back since, and I've been really happy. So it's been great. But you just got to work with what you have too. Like, I didn't have a lot of equipment, and I'm always wanting to buy stuff, but you really just have to work with what you have. And so that's my advice.
Yeah. There's so many different things. I mean, how could you have known that kind of thing was going to come up? That's something you wouldn't know before you were a photographer. That was a variable. Maybe it crossed your mind, but it would be so lightweight that you wouldn't have thought about it. So you had to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for my living room, because ever since I got a studio, my business has boomed. I mean, studio is not for everybody, but I enjoy the studio work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, this next question is for you, Amber. I want you to choose an interaction with a client and tell me how you used to deal with it and what has changed to how you deal with it now. Now, this is in general, not necessarily a specific story, but some type of interaction. Like there's a lot of different ways that you deal with clients. There's times when you're telling them your prices. There's times when you're telling them what kind of work you do. There's times when you're describing the process that you're doing. There's times when you're talking with the client at the session itself, telling them what poses to do or what's going to happen next when you show them the photographs. At some point in that sales process, choose an interaction with a client and tell me how you used to deal with it and now how you deal with it.
That's a great question. I actually and I'm sure you remember me telling you about it. I had a client, great client, did the maternity for her. Really nice people. Well, I was at a shoot and I was busy, but I don't like to leave people hanging. So I'm constantly, even at midnight, I will respond if I'm awake. She had asked me, how do I pay? Is it through the email? And then I have an automated response, which is always good to have in case you're not available. And so the automated response went, and then I saw it and I responded, yeah. I will never do that again. Because people are paying for your services. You want to be professional. And I should have said, yes, that is correct. Please let me know if there's anything else I can help you with. It's just better rather than, yeah. My motto, or not my motto, but I treat all my clients like my friends. But that doesn't necessarily get you anywhere, I realized. People are paying you good money, depending on what you charge. They're paying you good money. They want to be treated like, like good and professional. Like me being a bartender and a waiter in the past, when I go out to eat, I want to be treated not like I was a waiter too. Like I want to be treated like any other customer. So, so I get it now. I didn't see it at first, what I did wrong, because that's how I respond to my friend or my husband. But they're paying me money, so I need to be very professional and use punctuation. And like, for instance, I wasn't spelling out you, I was just putting a U. And so I just wasn't being very professional. And now that happened, lesson learned, I treat all my clients with professionalism. And I mean, because they're paying me. So I can't just, hey, girl, how are you? So I just have to watch what I say.
Well, man, that's you're making some good points. So, one of the things that we care about is working with our clients and being friends with them, and that's not unusual as far as how you talk to a friend. And so it probably felt just right. But
Right.
At some point, you just came to the conclusion of this isn't just friends. This is more than that. This relationship is a different type of relationship. So is that what you feel that how you grew into that point of view?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I lost the client, unfortunately, and I shed a couple tears because I've never lost a client before. And I didn't understand what I did wrong. And I asked other photographers, and some were like, oh, you did nothing wrong. But I asked some other photographers, and they said, well, I wouldn't book with you if you talked to me that way. And I was like, wow, that just like hit me hard.
Yeah, because that was your intent. Well,
now I explain myself, and if I can't answer right away, I just don't say anything until I can answer correctly.
That makes sense. Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that story with us.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us have crossed paths with something similar to that. So thank you for sharing that. All right. Next person to answer that question is Jeff. Jeff, I'd like for you to choose one of the many interactions that you have with clients and tell me how you used to deal with it and what changed. What's different about it now and why?
Well, I can tell you that initially starting out that I had this huge anxiety to make sure I was trying to please every customer. And I realized very quickly that there's always going to be a consumer that doesn't like what you did. And I mean, it's just the nature of the business. I used to have this anxiety about it, and I was trying to do everything I could. I mean, I'd refund, I'd shoot for free, I'd do another shoot, coming up, just trying to keep that interaction with a client. I was going overboard. It was driving me absolutely insane to try to, and I was losing money trying to fix it. Realizing, and it just came down to, in my prior career, you just can't please everybody. So how I changed was simply, I just went to a client and say, I'm sorry you don't like it. My apologies. I'm happy to reshoot, or I'm happy to refund your money. And I made it transactional as a business rather than personal, because sometimes you just can't fix it. So as soon as I went to that route, I actually found that I had less complaints and less comments, and because I wasn't trying to fight with my consumer base. So that's what I can tell you is it's a business transaction. We have things in our own lives, and we spend our money that we don't like, and the same things with our consumers as well. So you're going to have people that don't like you. Don't take it personal. Refund, redo, and if it still doesn't work out again, just that client's going to go somewhere else and call it a day. So that's how I handle it now.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I call it performing heroics when you're trying to go above and beyond. And there's a lot of times when those heroics that you're performing, they're not met with positively. It's like, well, you should have done it right the first time. So I don't, it doesn't matter that you're doing all this and that and the other. It doesn't matter that you're not spending time with your family and you're spending time with my family or whatever. Some people just don't care. And so you have, it looks like, found a different way to handle that, maybe to describe what you do in a way that doesn't attract those kind of folks, because we don't want to deal with it. We're creatives, and that doesn't help us in our creative process. When we're frustrated, we're not at our best.
Agreed.
So yeah, I'm
glad you
did that.
And you just walk away. Just be done. Say thank you. I'm sorry, and walk away. There's another client around the corner that's going to love what you do.
That is the truth. Yep. Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
All right. So let's ask that same question of Savannah. Savannah, I want you to choose an interaction that you have with a client and tell me the difference between how you used to handle it and how you do now.
Oh, goodness. When clients used to write me inquiring about my prices, and they weren't happy about my prices, I was scared. I would down just so I could make them happy. I would lower my prices because I needed them, I thought, and oh my gosh, I would throw myself through the ringer, and just seriously didn't care, and I had to learn to set boundaries and really just stick to, my prices. And not everybody's, for you, like Jeff said. And the person who will hire you sees your worth, and they'll hire you for, what they like. And I found really good clients just trusting that method. And I think I just like telling people my prices and my rates and my packages. I tell everybody up front, and I really just, that kind of thins out who's serious, who wants quality work, and who doesn't, who's looking for a bargain photographer. And that's just not me anymore.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Your price is your price.
Yeah, that's it.
We have, as creatives, we have an emotional connection to everything we create, including our price list. This is a weird thing to be emotionally attached to, but we are, because we're creatives. It's both pros and cons. There's a lot of pros to it, but there's some cons. Here's one of them, because we are emotionally attached to our price list. This is silly. And we all are. It's not you. It's not me. It's every one of us. We are emotionally attached to our price list, at least at first. Now, once we've evolved a little bit and we've done this for a while, at some point that usually goes away to some degree, but it never completely goes away. We always have this feeling. And so, did you ever find yourself going back and forth on that? Maybe caving on a price at some
You know,
point?
at the beginning, and I really did still beat myself down for people, and I was really just like,
Yeah,
I'm trying to make a living just like everybody else, and
that's
I
right.
should be paid for what I do.
I bet you there's not a single person on here that disagrees with that.
Yeah.
We do. We deserve what and most of us, if we were to figure out how many hours do we invest versus how much money are we bringing in, I bet you anything, there's a bunch of you who would decide that you were the worst boss ever, that you did way more work than you were paying yourself for. And if you look at it that way, you'll start seeing it the way that Savannah just said. I am worth it. I have value. I'm trying to make an income, a living just like everyone else is. And so you find out what it is that you need to bring in, and that helps you to define your price. What other people charge, what other photographers charge is a curiosity. But if you're
Mhm.
basing your prices on what other people charge, you're misunderstanding how to do pricing. Would you agree with that?
Yes, completely.
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. It's a really good one to talk about too. All right. And so that means you get to answer the first question, the next first question. So uh, the next question is, as far as dealing with self-doubt, what is one aspect of your business that is your least favorite?
Oh God, taxes. Isn't that everybody's like taxes are effing scary. I just want to say that.
So you have self-doubt when it comes to taxes, like you're gonna do it wrong, you're
Yeah,
gonna get
oh
in
my God,
trouble
are they
for
gonna
it.
just take me away in the middle of the night? Yeah, I mean, and luckily my mom she's amazing at taxes and
Oh,
all
good.
that. So I definitely have her as my right hand man because otherwise I swear it's the scariest thing to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are have that concern too. I wasn't expecting you to say that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm glad you did because that's a good thing to bring up because that is something. And of course, photographers don't start off dealing with that.
Yeah.
They at some point realize, oh, I'm supposed to do this, and then it scares them, and then they
Yeah.
hopefully move into the direction that causes them to do things legally, and and that does cause anxiety, and it's
Oh,
something
yeah.
that if you hadn't done before, you feel like, well, I had enough on my plate already.
Hmm.
Do I really need this one more thing? And the answer is no. And so that causes a lot of photographers to not go in that direction, to find a way to
Definitely.
either reduce things so that they're never wind up on the radar, or they use it as an excuse to get out. It's tough, but when you find someone who knows what they're doing and can help you, like in your instance, your mother,
Yeah.
that has to
Definitely.
help. Did that make a difference to you?
Oh,
Or
it
does it?
really did. And I think I begged her for the longest. I was like, I need it. I need your help in every aspect. Just all the hard stuff. I just don't want an adult, man. Just help me.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you for that answer. I appreciate it, Savannah.
No problem.
All right. So let's bring on Amanda. Excuse me, not Amanda. Um, I love bringing Amanda on, but let's bring Amber on to answer that same question. As far as dealing with self doubt, the things that cause you anxiety, describe one aspect of your business that is your least favorite. Is it telling your prices to someone? Is it showing off your photographs and hoping that they'll love it? What one thing is difficult for you?
An unhappy client that um the the women that just had a baby that don't like themselves. Oh, I have a double chin, or my postpartum body's too big. Like, I'm just thinking, what about the picture? Don't you like the picture? Um, and I tell them, a year or two from now, you're gonna look back and love the picture. You're gonna regret not having it. I had one client tell me, I can do without the full body pictures. And I'm just like, I'm gonna give them to you anyways. I know you don't want them, but I'm going to give them to you anyways because you're going to want them later. When you're looking down at your baby, you're going to have a little double chin. I mean, you just had a baby. And so that's my biggest thing is delivering the gallery to moms, wondering like, what are they thinking of themselves? And I try so hard to show them love and you're so beautiful. Oh my God, that looks great. You look amazing. Or hype up their gallery, like your gallery is awesome. But then when I get that response, like I don't like them. I'm just like, oh my God. Like I don't know how to make women feel beautiful, like how to make them see through my eyes what I see. You know, I mean, when you have a baby, you're gonna have some pounds on you. But so, and then the taxes part. So it's just really sad that, you know, the whole selfie thing that came along, you can alter your picture, smooth your skin, slim your face. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done it too. But and then when I get my pictures done professionally, I'm like, oh man, you can see my forehead wrinkles, you can see my belly, and I so bad want to edit them. But out of respect, I don't. I just have to suck it up. But I look back later and I'm like, oh, I didn't look so bad, like you were saying earlier. It's so weird. I look back at all my old pictures from when I had kids, like when they were newborns, and I think I look fine. But at that time, I thought I looked like a cow. It's crazy. So I know what they're going through. So I just hope I can do a better job at making them feel more comfortable and maybe getting better angles.
So good. So you keep on evolving and trying to solve that concern so that you no longer have that self-doubt, but it lingers. I get it. It's a good answer.
Thanks.
Thank you, Amber. All right. So that same question is going to Jeff. As far as dealing with self-doubt, what's one aspect of your business that is your least favorite? And what are you doing to make it work for you?
You know, when you're like 15 shoots in the queue, and I do a lot of, studio mass portfolio shoots for, teams, right? So if you're 400 or 500 kids in the hole, and what do? I mean, you're just looking at it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So I decided the only way to handle it is you can't do it yourself. You got to hire more staff to do it. So find someone that can work quickly. Find someone that you can trust. Find someone that is close to what you imagine the photographs to look like, and so you can limit your editing time as small as possible. Because I like creating, I like shooting, I love getting out there, I love talking to clients. But if you try to sit me behind my computer for 20 hours, it's just not going to happen. So the only way to do it is hire smart, train, and get it done. Because your consumers want a fast turnaround. They don't want. I mean, I was talking to one photographer, and he says, I'm literally, 12 to 14 weeks turnaround time, and I said, you're done. Thank you. I'm taking your business, because consumers are not going to wait that long. They're just not. So I try to turn around 2 weeks max, 3 weeks, maybe if we're pushing it, depending on how busy we are. But if I can get it to turn around in 2 weeks, the only way to do that is hire enough staff to do it. So find what you hate doing, find somebody that loves doing that, put them in that position to do it for you.
That's good. Yeah, a lot of us independent photographers are do-it-yourselfers. We try to do everything ourselves. We believe that that we can do it best. That if we try to describe it to someone else, they're not going to give us what it is that we want, especially with something like artwork. Well, the Photoshop work, I call it artwork, and retouching. And so we're trying to tell another artist what we as an artist want. That's you don't always get what you expect. But you're right. There's a lot of things about this business that we don't enjoy doing. Savannah mentioned that she pays someone else, or at least gets advice from someone else to do the taxes. It's probably not the only thing that that she has anxiety with that she shares with someone else. Maybe I'll ask her that in just a bit. But we all have things that we don't enjoy. And you mentioned hire someone else to do that. And with your background, this would be the norm, right? You would hire people to do certain things. And so this wouldn't be out of the norm for you. Is that correct?
It is not. The larger you get, the less hands-on you become. I mean, find the thing you love to do, and there'll be clients that really just, they are hiring you specifically, not your company. But if they're hiring you specifically, you got to step in and you do that. It becomes a special for you to get in to do it. Like, there's one thing I always shoot personally, and no one else touches, and I do it and I edit those. But then there's a lot of part of my business that I hire to do, just because it can't be done by yourself. And I actually learned this I met some other very well-renowned national photographers. That's all they do is travel around. And they said, look, I hire somebody. I got 1 to 2 people that do this job for me. And if you can hire them, build it and they will come. Right. So the old baseball analogy there. So hire somebody to do the part you hate and despise or don't want to do, and always keeps you behind, and your business will move forward quickly.
Nice. Hey, I've got a question that is from someone who's watching. Let me bring that question up. Dro says, I have a hard time giving out a price, and this is something a lot of us deal with. Based on what you said before, I have a feeling you no longer have a problem telling people the price.
No, if you think about how much money you invested in your equipment, right? So think about what you're spending and what you spent to show up at a photo shoot. I mean, if you're, just think you're at a Canon 5D Mark IV, you got a 7200 Mark III, so you're, $5,000 right there. You added some Pro Photo B1s, you're another $5,000 in the hole. So now you're $10,000 unless you got, some. But anyway, so you're $10,000 in the hole. You got to replace that money. So the only way to replace that is to charge. So they're either going to hire you or they're not. As Amanda said, there's bargain photographers, searcher clients out there. But if they want you, somebody's already referred them to you. And I don't have a problem explaining to somebody, look, I'm using $10,000 worth of equipment to shoot you. Here's my price. So I see my screen froze, but sorry.
It has. Your audio's good, so at least that.
It's a great look there. So I'm just going to go stop the cam there. But yeah, so don't feel bad about stating your price, because the minute you change your price, you devalue your personal product. Just set your price, and if they hire you, they hire you. If they don't, they don't. Photography is a huge referral business. And eventually, if your work is solid enough, you're going to, I think you need to increase your price over time. I think you need to set something you're comfortable with. And as you become a more referred photographer, you feel more comfortable about your work, and it continues to improve as it will. Look at your work from 5 years ago and say, can I charge what I charge now for what I charged 5 years ago? And the answer to that is probably not. So set your price that you feel comfortable, that you can attract clients. Over time, you have to raise your price because you're going to have to upgrade your equipment every 3 years. That costs a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, and it's something that I mention often to both my students, and just when I'm posting online, you see if you're on one of the like San Antonio photography Facebook group, you'll hear a question about once a week or so. Someone will say something about how do I price, or how I need help with pricing, something along the pricing lines. And people have these quick answers. It depends on how long you've been doing it. It depends on this and that. And these are considerations. However, there's really only a few things that actually matter. It's what does it take to make your business run and your life run? Mm-hmm. You need to find out the answer to that. If you don't know your numbers, then you can't possibly come up with a viable price. And so we've got to go inward a little bit. What do we want? Who are we as a person? What do we want out of this life? And what does it take to make this business be the tool that helps us to reach that? That is what gives us the numbers that we have in order to get our price list. It takes a few steps. In fact, Jeff, you I don't know if you know about this, but I have a free price list class. It takes me about half an hour to figure out someone's price. I can tell someone very specifically what their prices are. What their hourly rate is, what they need to bring in per year, what their package, their different print prices are. I can get very specific with that only because it's simple math. It's not a comparison to other photographers. Yes, I have averages and of what photographers make here in this area over the last 12 years, and so I can give very accurate numbers. As far as what the norm is. And I do kind of block it off. I do have those that have been serious about making photography an income source. And I don't include those who aren't serious about it. Like those who have a $50 for something option. There's almost nothing you can do where $50 is the right price as far as a session fee. So I say almost because there are high volume that actually could make that work. But when you consider somebody like Life Touch National School Studios or some other extremely high volume has prices around $50, then there is no way the low volume photographer can charge the same amount and still get what they need as an income amount. But we'll go there for another one. Thank you for asking.
That's great. You should take that class. I mean, what do you want to make per hour? And realize if you're not working 40 hours, what do you need to make to cover that for 40 hours a work week? And that's your price. So you're going to spend 2 to 3 hours shooting. You're going to spend another 7 to 10 hours developing. If you're going to spend 10 hours on one consumer, what do you want to make per hour? That's your price. And then add in your equipment. So very, very good. Very good.
The next question is for you, Jeff. Oh, and before I ask that, I want to tell Jerome, thank you for asking that question about pricing, because that is absolutely important. All right, so Jeff, here's the next question for you. Has there been a concern that you had initially that either the concern or the solution to that concern became an asset to your business? It actually made a big change to what was going on.
The solution to it has become an asset to you or your business. Man, people are a huge asset to my business, and I can't survive and I can't compete without people. So I have a team of 10 people now that we compete with, and I've got to be able to trust them and know that they're going to make mistakes, and I know they're going to cost me money, somewhere, somehow, because even in my prior life, if I had a nickel for every time somebody made a mistake and cost me $1,000, I'd be an extremely rich man. But, it's just invest in your people, trust them. And that's my asset is, because not only do my people now are profitable, but they sell your business as well. So my initial concern was, can I trust my product, me, as I'm starting this off solely, and I'm not, I don't have 1,000 employees this time, but this is me. So can I trust them? And the more I invested in people, the more they invested back. And that's what I can say. People are the asset. So take care of them, treat them well, praise them, train them, and keep moving forward. So,
yeah, good one. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, that's, and again, a lot of us don't have teams, but they are valuable. Have some people around who are going to be supporting what it is that you do. We know that Amanda at Digital Pro Lab has a team supporting what she's doing, and I'm sure that if you don't mind me bringing you back on, thanks again, Jeff, for that answer. Amanda, you've got a team at Digital Pro Lab. I'm sure that you would probably say some amazing things about them and how they make your vision actually happen.
I would not be, not even me, the company would not be where it is without the team that I have in place. And we have a very, very clear vision for the company and very clear goals, and I think as long as those get articulated to your employees or even to your customers pretty often, then everybody will move in that same direction. So yeah, it's incredibly important to surround yourself not only with employees that if you have employees in your company that are going to help you get you to where you need to go, but also people in general. I know myself as a business owner, I couldn't do what I do as an owner, as a leader, without other mentors and leaders throughout our industry and other industries. I lean on them all the time. I know even Jim, you're a mentor for me as well. And I value you as one of my people that help our company, for our city, for our community here in San Antonio and throughout. So thank you for that. And I mean, our customers too, those individuals that we work with on a daily basis provide us valuable feedback. And I know Amber had mentioned, sometimes they say things that maybe sound like criticisms, but those of us that are in leadership positions and own our own companies, it's very important for you not to take offense of those things, but to really hear it, allow it to sit with you, and let it be the thing that you put out on the table and say, okay, this is the challenge. How am I going to tackle it? And they make you better business owners, better, not only for yourself and your company, but for the people that you serve. And I think that just people in general, if you have the heart to open up and embrace them and what they say, whether they're mentors, customers, friends, anybody, you're only going to be better for it. Employees too, of course.
Yeah, that's awesome. That, you're, for every one of you, the lab, Amanda and her team, they're part of your team. So she's it doesn't necessarily mean someone who's on your payroll. This means any supporter. This is your team. So obviously, those who are on the payroll, that's an important variable. But there are a lot of members of your team who are not. Now, yes, you do have to pay for your prints at Digital Pro Lab. Okay, I wasn't saying you don't pay for that. I'm just saying they're not on your payroll. That's an expense that you have. But there's a lot of supporters, a lot of people who are on your team, and I'd say write them all down. In one of my class, in my E3 class that I do during the summer, this is one of the things we do is write down your supporters, and this is everyone, even family members who actually are helping you and not questioning everything you're doing. So yeah, thank you so much, Amanda, for bringing that up. And as far as me, I know that I'm the face of Landers Photography School, but if it wasn't for Robin doing all the behind the scenes things that she does, I wouldn't be doing everything that I'm doing. She makes a big difference. There's a lot of things that she does that I'm not doing, wouldn't get done if she wasn't there. And so that's Robin. And then there's other teachers. We have a total of 7 teachers. These are people who are on my team. And so I don't know. I'm not the best at everything. There's no way for any of us to be the best at everything. But there's some things that you are really good at. Those are the things you do. This is what Jeff mentioned a little while ago. And those things that you're not, other team members. That's what happens. That's what you do. That's what makes things work. You don't have to be the best at everything. In fact, I'd say you're wasting your time for trying.
Yeah, I know we get that question a lot from some of our consumers. Hey, do you shoot photography? Do you do studio portraits? Do you do this? Do you do that? And we don't. We know what our business is, and we know what it's not, and that's where we, recommend our photographers who are, again, part of our team, just like you said, because we don't want to say no to a customer per se, but sometimes you need to know what you do versus what you don't do, and have that network of people that you can provide, that advice or that referral to for the sake of your customers that you're working with, and they'll appreciate that too.
Oh, Amanda, you couldn't be more right on that one. And having a referral network, meaning, so I specialize in family portraits as home decor. At least I did. And if someone had a wedding or someone had a newborn, something else that I didn't do, I knew someone else who I could recommend. And they didn't do family portraits, so they recommended me. If they were a generalist, I usually didn't recommend them. because there's overlap. There's something that's competing there. And so when they get that family portrait, they're not going to send it back my way. And so I want this to be a symbiotic working relationship. I want to help someone else out, and I thoroughly enjoy the positive side effect of being referred back. And so I want to seek solutions where this just happens naturally. And the only way that can happen for photographers is by specializing. Now, I'm not saying just necessarily one thing. You can do, 5 or 10 things, but don't do 27. Narrow that down a little bit. You're not going to get known for everything. You're going to get known for just a handful of things. And one really, but maybe 2 or 3 if they're similar. So yeah. Thank you, Amanda. All right. So back to that question of, and I'm going to go to Savannah. Let's see, Savannah, has there been something that you have found as a concern, or something that's caused you some anxiety or some self-doubt, that now that you've fixed it, you've found a solution, has become an asset to you, that has really helped you in your business?
Actually, yeah. I was really concerned about finding a studio or having a studio, but it was time that I needed one in order to grow. And now I couldn't imagine a space I couldn't imagine not having a space. You could only shoot so many boudoir portraits outside or in your mom's house before it gets awkward. Don't come outside. There's naked girls in the pool. So really, it really became an asset to everything and helped me change. And I then got a makeup artist and a hair artist who she's my right hand man, who she's so creative. I'll tell her any vision I have, and she does it in our studio. She'll make anything you can imagine. And I was worried about having somebody and working with somebody, but really it's made all the difference for me.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I think all of us can picture that one. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Savannah. Let's ask that same question of Amber. Amber, has there been something that caused you some anxiety, some concern, that now that you've found the solution to it has really caused a positive benefit to your business?
Yeah. Hiring an assistant has been a huge help. I just had an assistant come with me to shoot a test shoot for my minis, and I didn't know how I wanted to decorate it. I need a second pair of eyes. Or the assistant can direct the clients when you host mini sessions, they can direct them. I don't have to worry about that. When I do newborn babies, you want it to be safe. You need a second pair of hands. You don't want the mom to have to help you. They're paying for the session. You don't want them to have to help too. But worst case scenario, if you don't have an assistant, then it's good to have mom help. But they don't always want to, or they don't know what to do. So if you have a trained assistant, it just makes your job so much easier. And then if I'm running out of ideas, I can always ask my assistant, hey, what do you think of this color scheme? Or what pose, if I run out of poses, hey, what pose do you think? It's always good to have some input. And then also taking workshops, nonstop workshops and classes. You can only take so much, but workshops has been a good asset for my business because it's helping me grow and gain all the knowledge that I need. So I'd say that's it.
Yeah, that was good, Amber. So that kind of goes along about having an assistant, goes along the lines of what Jeff and what Amanda were talking about. Your team, people who are helping you out, making things happen, keeping you on the path that you have. So yeah, thank you for that. The next question is for you. What things continue, even still, to give you self-doubt, and what are you doing to continue to keep yourself motivated to still be in business?
I say I struggle with editing because you got to find your style. And you see everyone's cool pictures. Oh, I want mine to look like that. But you need to just focus on what you like, what fits your brand the best, what represents your brand. Don't copy somebody else's editing. Do what you like. And I mean, like I said, I take classes and workshops, and it just all depends, what your niche is and finding your editing style. But I struggle with the editing. I think I found what I like. I'm more of a dark and moody photographer. I don't really care for the light and airy. So just getting different presets, trying them out, but don't go spend thousands of dollars on presets. I have probably 10,000 presets that I don't even use. It was a waste of money. So just even just hand editing, taking a Photoshop class and editing from by hand and not even using presets. So just finding your style.
Yeah, that can definitely give you some self-doubt if you don't feel like you have that. So yeah, good.
And now I'm starting to like my editing more, and so it motivates me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, okay, I can't wait to edit the session. I love editing. I love taking the pictures and I love editing. I love both. So, and people tell me all the time to hire somebody to edit my pictures. And I'm like, heck no. Like, I'm a control freak. I have to edit my own pictures.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and a lot of us feel that way too. I have to fine tune it, but I would generally now I don't so much anymore because I still do take on jobs, but it's past work. So it's people that I've worked with over the years. I've done no marketing since 2018, but I still do get some business. And so that the number that I get is vastly reduced. And so I don't always send it out anymore, but I used to always send it to a someone to do the base artwork. So getting rid of pimples, getting rid of flyaway hairs, redness in the eyes, puffiness, things that are temporary. I would pay someone else to do that because I figured that's something that anybody could do, and they charge a lot less than I charge. So therefore, it makes easy sense to send it to them. And you actually need to know how much you're worth per hour. Most of us will never charge by the hour, not portrait photographers. There may be some event work, but most portrait photographers never charge by the hour. I do see them doing that every once in a while, but maybe there's some specific reason. But generally speaking, that's not how a portrait photographer charges. But I think it's important for us to know how much we're worth per hour.
Right.
If only so that you can determine, does it make sense to outsource certain things?
Well,
I mean,
like
at
for
least for that reason.
weddings, I would love to outsource. I get tired of editing the same pictures over and over. I just get bored, and it's 4,000 pictures. It's so long. So for weddings, I would love to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your answer on that, Amber. All right, let's bring in Jeff. Jeff, what things continue to give you self-doubt? And they're continuing. So what are you doing to keep yourself motivated through that self-doubt and still be in business and still being strong?
That's a too loaded question, right? So the first thing is, I don't take on jobs that I'm not comfortable with. So I just won't do it. Like she mentioned weddings, like I would rather, never mind. I will not shoot a wedding, period. I just won't do it. One is because I've never done it. I've done it I've done it once or twice, but I just won't do it because I know that's not what I enjoy doing. So if I don't enjoy it, I won't do it. And second is on the creativity side, what pushes me is just try to get better and better and better. So if someone will challenge me to try to do a scene or something creative that I've never done before. So I typically will say no, but then this thing will come up and say, you know what, I've never done that before. I really want to try that. So that's what keeps me striving to get better, is people challenging me to do something I haven't done before. So depending on what it is. So if it's an individual, but if it's somebody says, "Hey, you've never done weddings. Let's go do that." No, I won't do that. I'm not interested. Headshots. I don't do headshots. So because I don't do headshots, I won't go do headshots. So know what you love doing and stick with that. Number one. Number two is challenge yourself constantly to get better. Find a way.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. You've been consistent with your advice all the way through. So, and everybody else has too. That's, we do have things that we enjoy, things that we love doing, and we should do those things. And those things that we don't enjoy, the things that bring us anxiety, if we can reduce or eliminate that anxiety, that's just plain smart. But still, we want to do what you said of challenging ourselves, and sometimes that means doing something that we're not doing before, but we aren't necessarily adding it to our business. We're just doing it. Maybe we're doing the second shooter for someone else. Maybe we're just doing something fun on the side that's not for a client at all. But yeah, challenging ourselves, pushing ourselves. Yeah, that's good advice, Jeff. I appreciate that.
Sure thing.
All right, so that same question now to Savannah. Savannah, what?
Oh,
Yeah,
go.
go ahead.
Sorry.
You-
Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, okay. So of course, not knowing everything gives anyone self-doubt. I'm one of those people who want to know everything, and learning, that I don't, and I have to keep it. You always have to constantly keep learning. And it's never going to end. You're never going to know everything, and that's what you really got to do is just keep learning, keep taking classes. Something new is going to come out, and you're going to need to learn it if you want to just keep advancing. Photography is one of those things that it never stops growing, and there's always a different way to do something, a different way to edit. And unfortunately, I'm one of those people who I refuse to outsource editing. So I do edit all my images and take the photos. So, but I figured, I learned easier ways to do different things, and I think that's what's going to keep me going, is just never stop learning.
Couldn't said it better. There is a ton to learn. I mean, if we were just students of photography, obviously we're actually doing it. But if we were only students of photography, we just studied photography, you could study for the rest of your life as your full-time job and still not learn everything there is to know. So and if you feel like you know everything, you're mistaken, because it's impossible. I've been studying, and I want your reaction to be, I can't believe that's true, because you look too young. This is what I want you to say after I say what I say next. I've been studying photography since 1975.
Wow.
And if there's one thing, if there's one thing that I have learned, it's there's always more to learn, because you've got this base of information, this knowledge that you've already accumulated from your past experiences. You have X amount of knowledge, and everybody's X amount is different, but you have it. You've got some things that are just outside of that you're aware of, but you haven't done before. Maybe it makes you uncomfortable. Maybe you just don't know enough about it, but you've heard about it. And then you've got the stuff that's well beyond that. And this is the place of ignorance. These are the things that we don't know yet. And every time I use that word, I feel like I've got to define it. Ignorance just means the things you don't know yet. That's all it means. So that wasn't for you, Savannah. That was for everybody else who may have misunderstood the definition. So there are more things we're ignorant of than we are knowledgeable of, and it will always be that way. There's no way around that one. Maybe something in the future would be different. But as far as what we know right now, we are ignorant of a ton more stuff than we are knowledgeable of. And we've got to do what Jeff mentioned, and what Amber's mentioned, and what Savannah's saying now, that we've got to continue to learn. There's so much more. Now, we want to be strategic about it. We want it to be smart learning. We want it to be along the path that we have decided for ourselves as the one we want to go, that helps us to get to our destination. So therefore, we've got to define our destination so we know what it is we're heading towards, because there's some good things here and there and all over the place. but there's certain things that are going to help you get to the things that you want to accomplish, that cause you to be the better photographer, the specific type of photographer that you want to be. So what kind of things do you feel that you want to learn next?
Me, I'm really, one thing that I always want to learn, and I've played with it a bit, is gel work, the different highlights with the different colors, and I am just blown away with any photographer who can do it, and
Mhm.
they get the, I don't know, I just think it's so amazing, and I really want to learn how to do it correctly. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I really just put some folders that are those different colors on a light and let it go. But I really want to become better with that and set a scene more like cinematographic, as like more
Yeah.
detailed shots with colors and stuff like that.
Fantastic. Yeah, cool. That's a good one. All right. So the next question is we're starting with you. And that next question is, what have you learned about yourself on your journey to building your business?
That I'm not as a pushover as I thought. Like I do have a breaking point, and I really just thought that I was going to be pushed over for all my life. But when you lose everything and you got to start from the bottom up, you really just demand that respect, and I'm proud of what it's taught me. So
Oh,
yeah.
that is good. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of creatives are people pleasers. Are you in that category, or have you been?
I have been a people pleaser all my life,
Mm.
but setting boundaries has really changed things for me. And I'm really glad I grew, because I don't think I'd be as happy as I am now if I stayed the same.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for that, Savannah. All right, let's ask that same question of Amber.
Yep.
Amber, what have you learned about yourself on your journey to building this photography business that you have?
Um, that I can be a business owner. I never in my life thought I would be a business owner ever. I am a people pleaser, but I love talking with people. And in my past jobs, the dental field, you can't talk to people with things in their mouth. So that didn't really work out too well for me. So just doing what I want to do, what I feel is right, what's fair. I get to, make my own prices. Um, I'm a Libra, so I like art and creativity. I get to build my own mini sessions, how I envision it, and people pay me for it. And one of my favorite quotes is, if you're not out there shooting, I mean, if you are out there shooting, things will happen for you. And if you're not, then you'll only hear about it. So I really like that quote, because my career has shown me that I'm a go-getter and I don't stop. I just keep going and I keep pushing no matter what anybody says. I mean, you can have a photographer that says, "Oh, that's not correct. That you didn't pose them right." But you know what? It's art. It's how you look at it. Nothing's correct. It's how you want to perceive it, how you want the picture to be. And if you're feeling the picture, then the audience is going to feel the picture too.
That's all right. And I've personally seen that. She's not just saying it. And all of us have things that we have to deal with, things that are difficult. It could be business related, it could be otherwise. Um, Amber has, as her teacher for the last year and a half, uh, uh, she shared with me some things, and I know firsthand she's not just saying these words. She has dealt with some stuff. She has pushed through, and I have this feeling no matter what she's up against, she's going to keep on coming through with a smile. That doesn't mean she's not affected by it. She's absolutely affected by it. And there's things that are hurting, that hurt, but she keeps on keeping on. She knows that this is her passion. She knows that this is what she believes in, that this photography business, this is for her. And so whatever things that she's passing through, she's just passing through. She knows it's not the destination. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, Amber. All right, so that same question is going to Jeff. Jeff, what have you learned about yourself on your journey to building this business that you have?
I would say I had to first learn what I love doing in the photography business. So when I first started out that first year, I volunteered to do everything, just so I would learn what I was passionate about. I said, I shot a couple of weddings that I won't do. I did one as a volunteer and I hated it. I said, I'll never do that again. And then I did an event photography and I said, this is terrible. This is like 8,000 photos. I'm never going to do this again. So I just went out and said, what am I passionate about? And then I focused on just that and decided I'm going to get as best as I can at this one area of photography. And I want to be known for being this photographer. And then after that, I decided I won't do any job that I don't enjoy doing, because I think it bleeds off with your clients. They can tell. I mean, photography is a lot of person to person relationships. You're not only selling yourself, you're selling photography. You want clients to come back to you because they not only enjoy your photographs, they enjoy spending time with you because you're fun to be around. Find what you love, get really, really good at what you love, and don't do things you don't want to do. And that's what I learned about myself. So I won't do jobs that I don't enjoy because I know I'm not going to give a good product as I could if it's a product I love. And I'm not putting my personal touch on things I don't enjoy doing. So you mentioned yesterday, about the referral. Find a group. If you're not passionate or good about something, find a group that you trust that will bring you back business. Refer that business to them. I don't really do that, but I have a friend, a photographer that I trust. I want you to go to them and they will take care of you. But you got to trust that photographer, that they're going to take care of your client, and then they'll come back to you for the stuff you do enjoy. So what have I learned is don't do the jobs you don't want to do because it will hurt your brand as a photographer long-term. Especially if we're usually centralized to a certain area of town where you do a lot of your work at, and you don't want your name getting out that, he didn't do a very good job, or wasn't fun, or he wasn't exciting. He was boring, or he wasn't into it. He just didn't feel like he wanted to do it. Because if you don't want to do something, you will give off that attitude. So don't do jobs you don't want to do, or you're not passionate about.
Good advice, Jeff. In fact, that leads us to the final question. And that answer is a good answer for this final question. What is one piece of advice, or maybe a quote that you want to share, or a quote that maybe you live by, that you could give as a photographer who may be dealing with some of the same concerns?
I mentioned earlier, my photography friend has been doing this, much longer than I have. And he looks at me all the time, and I call him up and I says, I got this, potential contract. And I go, how am I going to do it? And he just looks at me and says, do you like that work? Yes. Create the problem and then work to find a solution. So that's my advice. Create the problem, work your way through the solution. And that's how I think you can't build a business without that. There's going to be ups and downs, lows, highs. There'll be times when you don't make money. There'll be times when you're making a lot of money. But create a problem and then work your way through the problem. That's my advice. Don't, just live by that.
That makes sense. So there's got to be a problem, and we are the solution provider for that problem.
Correct.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Let's ask that same question of Savannah. Savannah, what's one piece of advice, maybe a quote, maybe you live by, that you could give a photographer who's dealing with the same concerns?
Okay. So I forgot that that last question, that it made me realize I don't like babies. I just had to add that. I hate, cannot do babies. Little people just cannot do. But
So send them to Amber.
yeah, I send those babies everywhere. Just don't send those babies to me. And my mom's like, she's so good photographer. She'll shoot your babies. Like, Mom, you better stop. So my one piece of advice would be stop comparing yourself to other photographers. I mean, when you're comparing yourself to other photographers, you're thinking like, oh, mine doesn't look like that. And oh, they're doing this and I'm doing that. Well, it wastes so much time and energy on stuff that you could be doing to make you move forward. You're special at what you're doing and just keep at it, polish it. I think that sets us back so much is that we think we're competing against each other and it's not a competition. There is so many people in the world and everybody needs photographs. That's one thing that's never going to change. So stop comparing. You're great at what you do. And if you're not that great, keep going and get greater, but just stop trying to be, competition to other people because I mean, I've seen so many talented people just quit because they just don't think they're good enough. And it's like, no, you were definitely good enough. You're just thinking you need to be like somebody else. So, I mean, just be great at what you do. So that's it.
Definitely good advice. Yeah. Comparison, it's not, it can be used as a tool, but for the most part, it harms us creatives. And we're not in competition with everybody else. If we're doing it right, we're in competition only against ourselves or with ourselves. So definitely good advice, Savannah. Thank you for sharing that. Cool. You guys can't see me on camera, but when I have it filled up with just Savannah, but I'm in the background, pumping my fist or giving her a thumbs up. I don't know.
I'm all over here trying to shut up my dogs. I'm like, shut up, please. Beat down cats. Like, it's a zoo over here, man.
That's funny. Thank you for that, Savannah.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. So the same question of Amber. Amber, what have you learned about you on your journey to building this business that you have?
One, I want to say it's been an honor to be on this show with Savannah because I'm a huge fan, Savannah. Love your work. And when I found out you were going to be on the show, I was like, oh my God. And it's funny because I don't feel like I'm good at boudoir. Like I've tried and it just does not work out for me. So that's not my niche. So I will refer you clients to you for boudoir if you send me babies.
Oh my goodness, yes, you can have all the babies. I cannot do babies. I mean, I don't know, man. Those little people are crazy. Like they just start crying and I freak out. I'm like, no, I just can't do this.
With boudoir, I mean, I love making women feel beautiful. Love it. I mean, that's all I want is for women to feel beautiful, but it's just not my talent to capture certain angles. And I don't know. I mean, I studied it. It just wasn't for me. But again, nice to be on the show with you. And to answer the question, I'm going to use Jim's quote. Put your blinders on. He wrote like a paragraph paper on putting your blinders on. And I actually had him send it to me and print it out and I framed it and I have it on my desk and it reminds me, like Savannah said, not to compare yourself to others. You can see somebody else, their pictures look amazing, but they're probably saying the same thing about you, you never know who you're inspiring. You never know who's watching you or who looks up to you. And it's not a competition, a community over competition. Just be unique, be yourself, and be different, because different's going to stand out. You know, you don't want to be like all the other photographers, what they're doing, the same mini sessions, the same poses. You know, come up with your own stuff, and that's going to stand out, and that's going to get people to want to book with you.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you, Amber. And that was fun, your interaction with Savannah just a minute ago. That was good.
I just wanted to say it before the show was over. Like, hey, I'm a fan.
I'm going to bring all of you on at the same time, and Amanda too. And we're come to the end of the show. You three have done a fantastic job. You've answered some tough questions. You've shared some stories. You have been vulnerable, and you've shared some things that maybe you don't always share with people, but you have with this group. And this is uplifting other photographers. And this is Amanda and my goal. We want to uplift photographers. We want photographers to make and have the ability, at least, to make an income doing the thing they love to do. This passion, this dedication that you guys have, and that all of us as creatives have, is real. And we shouldn't allow things to get in the way of what we know to be correct for us. And Amber and Savannah and Jeff, you guys did fantastic. I appreciate it. Before I give you a last word, Amanda, would you like to say something about our awesome panelists this evening?
I can't thank y'all enough for doing this. I know it takes, your evenings away from family or from editing work or whatever y'all happen to typically use your evenings for. But, I know many of y'all talked a lot about having a network of people that helped you get through some of the harder times, whether it was you having self-doubt about your own abilities as photographers or as business owners, and you leaned on other people, and you being here today to share with, at any one point I saw upwards of 25, 26, 7 people that joined, that are listening to your words, listening to your advice, and your journey, which is unique to you, still resonates with others. And they're going to take a little tidbit from what you've said today, and they're going to apply it to what they're doing with their businesses. So I can't thank you enough for just spending a little bit of time with us to answer the questions that Jim had, that I had, and then that some of our watchers had for you as well. So thank you for that.
Nice, ma'am. Oh, who's that, Savannah?
That's Salem.
Salem. I think I've seen Salem in some of your posts before.
Yeah. See, I don't do kids, but I'm definitely the crazy animal lady. I'm sorry. It happened.
Well, I want to. I'm going to. Amanda and I are going to say a couple of words, but if you guys wanted to say one last thing before we let you go, this is the time to do it.
Thanks for having me on this panel. I greatly appreciate it. I'm glad to meet some new people that I didn't know. Thank you, Jim and Amanda. If you don't work with Digital Pro Lab, you should. That's what I'm going to tell you. I've never worked with another lab, and in my 7 years, and Amanda and her team are fantastic to work with. So couldn't ask for a better team over there. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
I've actually met with Amanda a couple of times. She takes time out of her busy schedule to meet with you to create pricing for your prints. The products are amazing. The team is amazing. Amanda is just phenomenal. I mean, even though she doesn't charge, I would still pay her for her time. Just amazing. Just so nice and knowledgeable of the products, and really makes you feel comfortable. And then, of course, if you're thinking about taking some classes, Landers Photography School is amazing. It's changed my whole business. I truly believe I'm not going to say you can't make it on your own, but I would not be where I'm at if I didn't take the classes, honestly. But I mean, I'm hands-on though. I need to take classes. And some people just may watch YouTube, but I can't watch YouTube because I have a lot of questions. And Jim and Amanda answers all my questions. So
Thank you, Amber.
mhm.
I
Man,
want to hear about this free stuff from Amanda.
her time.
I haven't learned that trick yet. What is that?
What are you talking
I'm like,
about?
what?
You're always having conversations free of charge.
No, I definitely am glad to have such awesome other panelists. It was nice to meet you, Jeff and Amber. We're both Libras, so I definitely get that. Man, and Jim, I think you're like the god of photography. So
Aw.
he knows
Thank you.
everything. Well, almost everything, but he's got a lot of knowledge under his belt, and I want to take one of his classes. Like, that's kind of my goal right there. Is I know I can learn so much from him, and just like, I mean, y'all have learned from him, so
Do it.
I know I definitely do.
Guys. Well, you guys rock. We really appreciate you. The things that you're doing here tonight, the things that you do to uplift. It's Amanda and I share this opinion. When you are helping yourself, you are uplifting not only yourself but everyone else. And that, was it Amanda? Maybe it was Amber that said this. People are looking at you. They are observing what you're doing. You don't know it. Most of the time, you are totally unaware of it. Occasionally, they'll let you know, but someone is watching you. And they're looking at you to get answers. They're hoping to learn something from you. And so when you learn something new, when you take the time to watch the Portrait Profit Show, when you take a class, when you watch a YouTube video, when you're doing something to uplift yourself, you are uplifting not only yourself, your loved ones, but the entire creative community. And so we appreciate you guys being here, taking your time and giving your thoughts and your opinions, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and share your experiences. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Savannah. And we'll see you guys soon. I'm going to take you guys off camera, and Amanda and I will be closing out this episode. Amanda, they're amazing.
They really are. I love hearing the stories that the photographers have. Yeah, and being on the print side of it, we talk more print and things like that. So it's not often that I get to hear a lot of their stories unless I really take the time to sit down with them, which, of course, just like Amber and Jeff said, I try to do. But it's still nice, to hear it and know that there are other people listening and getting something from it. And I think that's, has something to do with you, Jim, and with Digital Pro Lab and what we're trying to do together for our community. It's very important. And so we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to do it as long as there's people watching that can get a little bit from it to help grow their businesses.
Nice. Yeah, totally agree with that. Did you have a
yes, I do.
a promo code?
Yeah, so what I've done is I've actually extended the last one because it was a big success. I had people calling like up to the deadline. So I'll go ahead and launch it. Oh, you got it. Okay. Oh, no, let's see this one here. So this is the...
Oh, did I do the wrong? Did I click it? Whoops.
I can do it. You got it? Okay.
Sorry.
We got it, guys. The promo code. All right. So typically at the end of every Portrait Profits, Digital Pro Lab has a promo code that we like to provide everybody with, just as a thank you for watching, for participating in the Portrait Profits session. Because not only are you learning something and taking something away, we want you to take something away and really cultivate your ability to become printmakers. So we've extended the 40% off 20-inch prints with promo code PRINT20, which you can just plug into any of our online ordering systems. We use the Rose professional system, and we've got several instances of that depending on what your proficiency level is with our software. But if you just enter in that promo code PRINT20, you'll get 40% off 20-inch prints, and those prints are going to include 16 by 20, which is a very popular size. 20 by 20 if you really like a square format or wanted to try something a little bit different. 20 by 24, 20 by 30, which is a full frame aspect ratio. So if you don't like to crop your image and you're shooting with a full frame camera, then that's another size as well. Or if you want to get a little crazy and you want to try something different than most people have tried typically, you can do a 20 by 60 inch print. So it's a pretty large print. It's a little bit different, but it'll give you some creative leeway to explore a different size product than what you may have otherwise been able to order before. So please take advantage of those sizes. That promo code, it's going to be through the end of the week, which for us is Sunday. So the 14th, get all your prints ready and start sending those through, because we don't do 40% off 20-inch prints very often. So take advantage of that.
That is a great deal, Amanda. I agree with what she just said. Take advantage of that. 16 by 20, 20 by 20, 20 by 24, 20 by 30, 20 by 60. Woo! That's really cool. Yeah. We have a question from Julie. Can you mat those sizes?
Not the larger sizes. The 16 by 20, the 20 by 24, yes. But the 20 by 60, I would recommend. Like I said during the event, I know what we're good at. And some of the other photographers had mentioned, we know what we're good at. We're great at printing, and we do some framing and some matting. But some of the bigger stuff, we definitely recommend that you take those to a professional framing company, because they're going to have a lot of different options for you to choose from. And some different customizations for some of these off the beaten path sizes, like a 20 by 60. So we encourage that, and we can always give recommendations for framers if you need them.
Nice, perfect. And you're going to be at PPSA in was it next week?
Next week, I'm excited. Yeah, so Professional Photographers of San Antonio, they have their monthly group meetings, and I'm going to be the speaker of the next one, which is next week, Wednesday, November 17th. And I'm actually going to be speaking on the power of partnerships. They are something that for our company have done really well. It's, again, surrounding yourself with a network of people that are going to help grow your business, and vice versa, a network of people that you're helping them grow their business as well. And it's what's made our business successful. And it's something that I've been working with many of our photographers that have asked for help. I generally will teach them some of my principles of creating and cultivating partnerships, so that they can expand their businesses in different ways. A lot of people look at companies that are very closely connected with the types of businesses or the type of business that they are. However, I like to really encourage individuals to think outside the box when we're talking about creating partnerships. And I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about that at this particular event, because of how important it is to cultivate those relationships and really amplify what you're trying to do through this idea of partnerships in more creative ways. So I hope y'all can join me for that on November 17th at Pedrati's.
I'm planning on joining you.
Oh, good. Good. I should pull you up. I'm sure you've got a lot to say about the topic too.
Well, I've got a lot to learn too, especially from you, because you're amazing, Amanda. It's AA. That's the initials. So that's perfect.
This is a good example of a partnership as well. You and I came together, and we came up with the idea, and poof. Power of partnerships. This is what the power of that relationship has been able to do, and we're just going to continue to grow it. So,
absolutely, yeah. Hope to see you guys on that's Wednesday at the Pedrati's Ranch. It's the PPSA, Professional Photographers of San Antonio. So, hope to see you there. Before that, we'll have another Portrait Profits though, and so let me tell you about that title real quick. Where did I put that title? Upcoming episodes. That's where it's at. So the next title Portrait Profit show is at its regular time of noon on Mondays. And yes, if you can't be there at noon, then you'll see it in the feed. You just have to go back in history just a little bit to find it. But it is definitely live streamed, and it's there when you're there, or you can come back to it later. But the next topic, the next title is how to get 5 new clients today. I know a lot of you are struggling to get clients. Maybe you haven't had a client in a week, 2 weeks. We're going to talk about how to get 5 new clients right now. So hopefully you'll put that on your calendar, and we'll see you at the next episode of the Portrait Profit Show. Again, that's Monday, a week from today at noon. How to get 5 new clients today. Does that sound like a good topic, Amanda?
That sounds amazing. I'll definitely be there, and hopefully I'll learn something from you too. I've got a lot of clients, but I could always use more.
Right? Good. All right. So what other announcements do we have? Do we cover them all? I think we did.
I think we did.
Awesome. So we had a great episode of how I deal with self-doubt. Another shout out to all 3 of our panelists, Savannah, Jeff, and Amber, who did amazing. We thank you guys and appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing you at the next. I'm looking at some of these quotes. Cool. He's having an event coming up, and I look forward to going to that event. Not photography related, although he probably would encourage you to create some beautiful images. So, but if there's not any other announcements to make, then I'll close this out. Thank you, Amanda, for all that you're doing, and what you added to this one, and are always adding to every single episode we have. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, as always.
Of course. All right. So I want to invite you guys to. Let me put this in here. I have a free session that it's totally private. And I give this to anyone who asks. It does need to be someone who's a portrait photographer, because that's what I specialize in. That's what I know I'm good at. And so you'll see it in the post. And let me put it as a banner on the screen as well. Just use the link. There we go. So it's a business assessment consultation. Now, this could be you could form your price list with this, or we could just talk about the current state of your business or future business. There's been plenty that have come to me before talking about what they're thinking about doing. So wherever you're at in your business, if you need some time to talk about it, to hear a different point of view, someone who's done maybe something similar, then take advantage of this. Just click that link, and it is a free session, private session. I'm not charging a dime for it. I've done nearly 500 of these so far, and you're next. All you have to do is click this link and put yourself on my calendar. Find a time that works for you, and we'll talk about your business and what we can do, what you can do to help make it the vision that you've got for it, or maybe help with the vision. So this is something that's free that Landers Photography School does, and we promote it through the Portrait Profit Show. So business assessment consultation. I want you to take advantage of that. Our classes are at landersphotoschool.com. You can see there's over 120 different titles. We've been teaching photography since 1997. And I got my degree in 1991, and I've had my business since. So I do know a little something about what I'm doing. So I encourage you to go to landersphotoschool.com, and up in the top, it says get updates. Click on that. That puts you on our email list, so you know what classes are coming up. You don't want to have to constantly be going back to the website. Allow us to push those classes to you, so you know what's coming up. So I want to thank you guys again for being here. You being here is beneficial to you. It is also beneficial to everyone around you. You are uplifting other photographers simply by being here. So I want to thank you for doing that. And I encourage you to come to every single episode of the Portrait Profit Show every single Monday. Most Mondays it's at noon. On the second Monday of every month, just like today. It's at 6:30, and that's so we can have a slightly different different show, and so that we can accommodate others' schedules. So next one will be this coming Monday at noon. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, this is Jim Landers bringing you the weekly Portrait Profit Show, giving you evolving content, awareness, and even fun to the business side of photography. We provide helpful information, step-by-step processes, how-to articles, and action steps that will help you with the struggles you deal with now, so you are constantly realigned to the path that leads to the success you deserve. Thank you guys for being here. See you next time.